A very good evening to you, dear viewer, and thank you for making Brand Plus TV your station of choice. I am Ndiro Ganga, ready to bring you up to speed with all the top stories making headlines. And as you know, we are all about business. Let's take a look at some of those headlines. Form 1 selection process launch, the future beckons. International Water Security and Climate Change Conference, Water is Life. Tactical tools for human rights defenders getting armored. Thank you for staying with us. Now on to our top story. The government is committed towards the success of the 100% primary to secondary school transition project. This was top of the agenda at the kickoff of the Form 1 selection process at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development today. Take a look. Following the President's initiative, which started last year to ensure 100% transition to secondary school for KCPE candidates, this year marks the second cohort, and the government is committed to ensure this project bears fruits after 4 years, sentiments expressed by Ambassador Amina Mohammed, Education Cabinet Secretary.
The 2018 KCPE candidates constitute the second cohort of students to be admitted to secondary schools under the government policy of 100% transition, spearheaded by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. The key objective of the 100% transition policy is to ensure improved access, improved retention, and the completion of secondary school education by all our learners. In line with the President's directive for full transition, the Ministry this year will place 1,032,334 candidates in secondary schools. This number excludes refugees, it excludes adult learners, it excludes absentee candidates, it excludes private candidates above the age of 18, it also excludes inmates who sat for the exams in prison.
Cognizant of the fact that 100% transition comes with its unique challenges, Ambassador Amina said in an effort for the government to ensure retention, it continues to support free day secondary school education, and even for boarding schools, parents will only pay the boarding fees.
To enforce equity within the schooling system and avert the effects of poverty on access to education, the government unveiled the free day secondary education financing 100% tuition in day secondary schools. We have set aside funds to expand existing infrastructure in schools to accommodate the rising number of students transitioning from primary to secondary schools. Under this program, all learners in public day schools receive 22,244 shillings per annum. Parents and guardians whose children are enrolled in public boarding schools are only required to top up fees for boarding facilities. Ahead of the school opening next year, the Ministry has released a circular articulating how the free day secondary education funds will be disbursed to schools.
On the critical issue of teenage pregnancy that was brought to fore during the national examination, Ambassador Amina went on to direct principals to accommodate the young mothers and ensure they stay in school and complete their studies.
I call upon principals and head teachers to enhance support services to help young mothers focus on learning and minimize destructive practices. I particularly wish to highlight the re-entry policy, which must guide school principals and head teachers to admit, accommodate, and support returning students. Further, I'm directing education officials in all our counties to map out the 2018 KCPE candidates who became mothers in the course of the year and make special arrangements for them to transition to Form 1.
With the launch finally done, Form 1s are expected to join school by 7th January and latest 11th January 2019. Among those joining national schools are 31,337, extra county 128,838, county schools 148,215, sub-county schools 722,318, and special schools 1,606. The top girl in KCPE will join Kenya High School, while the top boy will join Alliance High School.
Selection exercise for the 2018 candidates.
For counties to fully realize their economic potential, there must be specialization and integration in terms of goods produced and inter-county trade. This was said by Kirinyaga County Governor Anne Waiguru during the precursor conference of the Devolution Conference to be held in Kirinyaga County in March of next year. Take a look. Bringing together county executive committee members from counties all over the country, the Devolution Conference congregated at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development under the theme Remaining Accountable. Kirinyaga County Governor Anne Waiguru said the counties are putting in place proper systems and structures to ensure they deliver while remaining accountable.
As you have heard, we are here kickstarting the process of preparation towards the Devolution Conference, and you've heard again, we don't want just to have a talk shop where we just come and have a conversation. We want to ensure that we are exchanging ideas and best practices. We are learning from one another. We are discussing the challenges that we're facing and finding a solution. And I think we've come a long way, and we are getting there, getting even our CCs involved in the conversation, because most of the time they're the ones who actually implement. So in terms of being held accountable, this is actually how you hold us accountable, because we will see us there. You will listen to what counties are saying they've done. You will be able to interrogate whether what I say we've done in Kirinyaga is what really we have done in Kirinyaga, and whether it has the impact that we are saying it has had. So as in terms of devolution and ensuring that we're holding ourselves and accountable, that is why we have the Devolution Conference for public participation and transparency as well. Recognizing those counties that are doing very well in certain areas and the ones that are not, and seeing how we can support one another, because the issue is not about competition. The issue is to ensure that across the country, devolution is working, and that every Kenyan is feeling the benefit of devolution.
Governor Waiguru went ahead to state that it is high time counties began working together, calling for integration in trade for economic development.
You've had the conversation even here. We want to encourage what we call ecological mapping, where you say, for example, in Kirinyaga, your strength is not, for example, producing potatoes. You're good in coffee. Your climate is favorable to coffee and to rice and to tea in the various areas. And so we focus on that, see how to leverage that, and then work with the other counties that produce the things that we don't produce to buy from them, and they buy also from us. So we encourage inter-county trade. It's one of the things that we're challenging the CECs to work on.
Further to this, with the country mainly focusing on the Big Four agenda, Governor Waiguru said that the counties are striving to create an enabling environment for private investors who play a critical role in the actualization of the agenda.
You have had most counties in terms of trade are also talking to private partners. A lot of the trade issues, production will be done by the counties in terms of facilitating an enabling environment. But the actual processing, for example, of textile has to be an investor, a private sector investor, who will actually come and set up in Kirinyaga, for example, and do the cotton processing, because that would not necessarily be done by the counties. A county can kickstart it, but eventually it has to be run by the private sector. So we are working also to encourage investors, private sector, to participate in this conference. They will be there listening to which county has an enabling environment for what.
With this conference being the precursor of the Devolution Conference set for March next year in Kirinyaga County, Governor Waiguru said the ripple economic effect of hosting the conference will surely trickle down to the neighboring counties.
Even when we host, we share. So people will not just sleep in Kirinyaga. So Kirinyaga is very small, and it's 10 minutes to Muranga and a few minutes to Nyeri, a few seconds to Embu. We share, we're very tiny. So we are an ideal place to host, but a lot of the accommodation and all will come from the neighboring counties, so that everybody in central Kenya feels like they have played a part.
There cannot be development if those tasked with that mandate are not held accountable. As the conference unfolds, we do hope that the bottom-up approach taken by the counties will have a transformative effect on the governance of counties. Achieving water security is one of the major challenges faced on both the global and local level, as it is essential to promote economic and social development. It is for this reason that Kenyatta University hosted an international conference on water security and climate change, bringing together researchers, academicians, and practitioners in this space. Our reporter Karari John has more details.
Asante. All right, so karibuni.
Global agreements such as the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, and the SEDAI Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction revolve around the question of water security. Speaking at the event, the guest speaker, Vice Chancellor, Kenyatta University, Professor Paul K. Wainaina, pointed out that the conference is an indicator of the key role that universities can play in the attainment of the SDGs.
The conference is a focal point on the key role that universities can play in the achievement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which we already know. The many papers and posters to be presented during the conference are mainly targeting goal number 2 of ending hunger, goal number 6 pertaining to universal access to water and sanitation, goal number 13 on taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impact, and goal number 17 on strengthening global partnership to support and achieve the ambitious targets of 2013 agenda.
He went ahead to outline how relevant the conference was to the African continent as a whole and Kenya in particular.
The conference is also very important to the African continent, since it will address African Agenda 2063, which is a strategic framework for the socio-economic transformation of the continent over the next 50 years. It will also address Kenya's Vision 2030 and our current Big Four agenda, especially on food security.
Keynote speaker, Professor Mariana Rufino, Professor of Agriculture System, Lancaster University, pegged her address on tropical forests as a critical resource for water and food security in the East Africa region.
These tropical forests are key for water supply, but they are also key for agriculture. I said commodity-driven deforestation, but we also have the problem of forest degradation. It's just a problem of expansion of human population. So we have animals, they have to graze somewhere. So you probably have spotted in the middle, this is the Mau forest here in Kenya, the largest tropical mountain forest in East Africa. The biggest challenges for the tropical forest in Kenya at the moment is not large-scale deforestation anymore, but it's this consistent and persistent forest degradation, so small patches for charcoal baking or for grazing. They become bigger and bigger, and the end result is still the loss of forest.
While the director of Center for Natural Resources and Development, Professor Lars Ribe, had this to weigh in on the topic of discussion.
Our center, as you can guess by the name, is focusing on natural resources. Natural resources are the basis for life. Without natural resources, we would not have to drink or to supply water to other functions, to eat. So water security, energy security, food security ultimately depend on natural resources and obviously how we manage them. So that is the main subject of our network. And since we are a university network, we are concerned with the role of universities in society, universities for development. And I think this is really necessary that we think about the role of universities in the development process.
As Kenya has hosted for the first time the International Conference on Water Security and Climate Change, which is in its third edition, all hopes are that the deliberation reached on the three-day conference will be adopted by relevant stakeholders, bringing the world closer to being water secure. Reporting for Brand Plus TV, I am Glory John Wambugu.
Africa Science Week, which is an initiative of the Next Einstein Forum, has officially launched the Kenyan edition that will run for 4 days in the country, with the focus being science of works in the country, as well as connecting the public to Kenya's scientific past and its scientific future. Our reporter Daisy Wambua was present for the launch and filed the following report.
To the L'Oreal Foundation team, Tanaru, Charlotte.
While officiating the launch, Director General, National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Moses Rugat, stated that the ministry would finance research through the National Commission for Science.
The National Commission for Science is a regulator in the sense that we register research institutions, we do the coordination of the research, and we do licensing of the research. The National Research Fund will be the one funding most of the research institutions and the like. And the Innovation Agency, which will also get funding from the National Research Fund, will be the one which will drive it.
Tech consultant.
On her part, Dr. Rose Mutiso, Chief Executive Officer, Mawazo Institute and the Next Einstein Forum Ambassador for Kenya, outlined the aim of the initiative.
We set out to diversify definitions of science and scientists in Kenya, as I said, to show that science is accessible, it is interesting, and it is important. So we also wanted to encourage education, careers, and entrepreneurship in science.
Natalie Munyampenda, Managing Director, Next Einstein Forum, gave further impetus to this by stating why it was important to bring the initiative to the African continent.
We decided to create a forum. As you know, if you are a scientist in Kenya and you're trying to attend a forum in Germany, you know that you can miss the forum, even though you are the main speaker, because of visa issues. And so we decided to bring the world to Africa and have a globally organized science forum in Africa. And so the next Einstein for Global Gathering happens every 2 years. The next one will be here in Kenya in March. And so that's very exciting for us. And what's particular about our forum is that we are basically forcing scientists to speak to other people. And so on a panel, you usually have someone from industry, someone from policy, and it's a conversation that's less about how much science I produced and how great my paper is, and it was published in Nature, and more about what does that paper mean and how does it have relevance for the general public.
The event also saw the awarding of Faces of Kenyan Science, who comprise of 20 exceptional researchers, practitioners, innovators, and educators, among others, in science who have impacted the field both in the country and on the continental scale.
Innovator and changemaker.
The initiative is meant to encourage science on the continent, and it will encompass a variety of activities during the week while giving a special focus to women in science. For Brand Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
Thank you, Daisy Wambua, for that report. Well, on that scientific note, let's head for a short commercial break. But do stay with us, as we still have so much more lined up for you on the other side, including some biggest awards in the award industry. See you shortly. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with Brand Plus TV. This is Business News. Let's now shift gears and take a look at matters human rights. The Defend Defenders and the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Kenya has this week organized the annual one-week Claiming Spaces, Tactical Tools for Human Rights Defenders workshop at the Ngong Hills Hotel in Nairobi. The forum brings together 110 human rights defenders from across Kenya to promote their work and equip them with more tools to claim their civic space. Elsa Tieno has the details.
The voices that are normally muted. And when we talk about human rights defenders...
Speaking at the forum, Her Excellency Anna Jaffelt, Ambassador of Sweden to Kenya, said that it is always important to remember that human rights are not only a question of idealism and mental state, but human rights are based on binding obligations of international law.
It's always important to remember that human rights, it's not only a question of idealism, it's not only a question of a mental state of mind. It is human rights, they are based on binding obligations of international law. We are all equal, and we must all respect and protect each other's freedom of opinion, expression, choices, and lives. It's everyone's responsibility to defend these rights, but also to defend the safety of journalists, bloggers, publishers, and artists.
She went on to add that it is clear that in a world where human rights are under attack, the work of human rights defenders is critical.
It is clear to us, in a world where human rights is under attack, maybe today more than ever, that the work of human rights defenders is more important than it has ever been before. Everyone's enjoyment of human rights, it's essential for peace, development, and economic prosperity. So it's really so encouraging for me to see so many young and youngish human rights defenders here in the same room. And this is something that really also gives me hope for the future.
The rights of women and girls.
According to Hassan Shire, Executive Director, Defend Defenders, the goal of the forum is to provide a platform for Kenyan defenders to build their capacity through interaction with regional and international human rights advocates.
This year, the goal of the forum is to provide a platform to Kenyan defenders to build their capacity to use and interact with regional and international human rights mechanisms, create networks, county networks, group of networks, within the network, thematic networks, and share experience and information on good practices.
He went on to add that the Defend Defenders examines trade and the challenges facing marginalized human rights defenders.
Defend Defenders examines threats and the challenge facing marginalized human rights defenders in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. The people of Turkana, for so long ignored and marginalized by the national government, have suddenly become the focus of massive development projects and extractive and industries resources. While this supposed to help them escape from generational cycle of poverty, it has now become the cause of indigenous community that are now faced with violent displacement from their land without compensation and are denied employment opportunities.
We move to the other side, we'll be launching.
It is the role of every stakeholder to defend human rights, as the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein, aptly points out. When the fundamental principles of human rights are not protected, the center of our institution no longer holds. It is they that promote development that is sustainable, peace that is secure, and lives of dignity. Elsa Tieno, Brand Plus TV, Business News.
Welcome back. Now let's start with the awards. And for investors to have faith and invest in the country, human rights must be respected and upheld. These words were uttered by Belgium Ambassador to Kenya, Niho Nicola, during the Human Rights Defenders Award ceremony held at his residence. Take a look.
Intentionally thinking about defending human rights.
According to the United Nations, human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status.
Like when my mother called me daddy.
It is for the purpose of recognizing those who go out of their way to defend these rights that guests convened at the Belgium residence in Nairobi. Speaking at the ceremony, the host, Belgium ambassador to Kenya, Nihon Nicola, said that upholding human rights is beneficial, with one of the gains being investors having faith in the country and confidence to invest.
I think that when you have some rights in a constitution, rights in a law, and that people from the outside can see that these rights are upheld, I think it gives confidence. And I think if Kenya can maintain the pace of implementing what's in the constitution, it can only send a very good message to the international community that people here now they can do business, they can come to work. I think it's only a very good benefit. It's an extra that you get when you uphold human rights.
So this is the third year.
Ambassador Nicola equally pointed out that the award goes a long way in motivating human rights defenders who have found themselves treading a lonely path.
To gather the human rights defenders from all walks of life in Kenya, and through these awards to give them some recognition. A recognition among themselves, but a recognition also throughout Kenya, and that's why it's so important to talk about it on the media, because by giving them a visibility, it's also a way to give them some protection. When people are more famous, it's a bit more difficult to create trouble for them. And these people at the beginning are coming sometimes from nowhere. They're just average citizens who decided to stand up.
Thank each other and be grateful for the work that you can achieve.
On the economic benefits of upholding human rights, Dr. Kizi Shako, founder and chair Vunja Kimya and last year's winner of upcoming Human Rights Defender Award, echoed the host's word. Dr. Shako noted that upholding human rights will save the government billions of shillings that go into taking care of those whose rights have been violated.
We are spending billions of shillings annually on victims and survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. Billions of Kenya shillings. You can Google it online. You'll be shocked by how much people have to spend just to get treatment, legal aid. And you see that currently our system, our service provision is so fragmented that it costs people so much more, survivors so much more just to get assistance. The assistance that they require, that they have a right to receive, they're not asking for extra. So, when you're having victims and suspects being sent to one place, from one place to another, back and forth, police officers, back and forth, it's fragmented and it costs a lot more than it actually should. I haven't personally done a cost study, but I can tell you, if I have to keep going back and forth between 5 different locations, of course it will cost more than if I just go to one location. So I personally believe we need to move towards having multi-agency assault management centers to handle all these cases, which would definitely relieve the cost burden on our country.
In leaders, not because of where we come from.
Dr. Kizi went on to urge those practicing in delicate careers such as forensics to do their due diligence, as they play a critical role in upholding human rights.
In forensic medicine, you see, you're dealing a lot with, your work is really within the criminal justice system, and a forensic medical specialist is, so to speak, is gathering information that will be used by the investigative arm. So that's like the police. So you can already see how it's very easy for things to go wrong or for there to be compromise, and we face a lot of situations that present dual obligations, dual loyalties. So we have to be really clear on what are our codes of conduct, and what do the international tools and instruments say, and are we able to follow that? We have to take it upon ourselves to create an environment that allows you to be autonomous, that allows you to be transparent, that allows you to be impartial and objective, because that's really what it's all about. You have to be impartial, objective, and not allow things to interfere with your decision making, which is very easy. I'll tell you, it's very easy sometimes, but it takes a lot more to stand strong. Yeah.
Among the winners of the night were Anastasia Nambo and Ishak Abubakar, who won Human Rights Defender of the Year, Christine Kandie, upcoming Human Rights Defender of the Year, and Okia Umtata, who won both Munir Mazrui Lifetime Achievement Award and the popular vote. All the winners took home an appreciation check of $1,000 each. We do wish the winners the very best as they carry on the noble task. However, the challenge remains for all of us to be human rights defenders because it is not only the right thing to do, but it also makes economic sense.
Viva, Mrata, viva! Viva!
Staying with awards, Association of Practitioners in Advertising that is mandated with the enforcement of advertising standards and also advocating for professionalism among its members held the annual award ceremony in Nairobi to recognize brands that have shown application of creative excellence in the way they communicate with the masses. Our reporter Daisy Wambua was present and filed the following report.
Speaking during the award ceremony, which is a culmination of the Creative Week, the chief guest, Governor Machakos County, Dr. Alfred Mutua, noted that creativity is integral for players in the advertising space.
An advertiser is a person who will actually sell you VIP trips for hell, and you buy them and you go. Because it's all about creativity and being able to convince people.
He went on to challenge advertisers to aid in closing the gap between the rich and the poor using their creativity.
You're not very normal. We know that, but you're creative. But I want to challenge you to stop just doing things so that you can make money and do good adverts and grow your companies and continue and feel good and come to awards and go out and post it on Instagram, etc., etc. I was thinking, we in this room, myself included, if you allow me, are creatives. We think, we are clever. How can we use our creative ability to change Kenya?
Communications, newspaper,
Dr. Andrew Human, CEO Lorraise, stated that passion and obsession were the main factors for one to remain relevant in the industry.
The creative industry, people really are doing things, as Monty said, passionately and obsessively. It's not about going and working in an administrative job 9 to 5. And you're looking for recognition. And without that measure, people don't have anything to aspire to. So it's simple.
Rob McLennan, president of the vetting jury, stated the need for brands to show how they give back to society in their sphere of influence.
We can change people's perceptions about our country because a lot of brands are embedded in the countries and the continents and the cultures that we live in. And we use those insights to inform what we do. And more, brands need to show how they give back to the countries that they are in. And that's incredibly important. There's a statistic which shows that brands that do good in a very relevant way are 30% more likely, people are more likely to have an affinity towards those brands and buy those brands as opposed to their competitors who don't do that.
He went on to urge the players in the sector to use available tools to make their brand widely known.
We live in an incredibly difficult time for our industry. We're in a situation where the changes that we have and the tools that we have and the media that we have, we are met with the proliferation of so many messages every day, which means that it's much harder for us to take a brand or a product or a service and get anyone to notice what we're doing. We have media now where people aren't interested in what we have to say. Only 5% of our messages even get through. So the importance of what we're doing here with the industry is incredible. And by that I mean that we know that there's affinity to brands that have creative advertising. It increases people's bonding to that brand by 26%. I got all of these stats from strategy, by the way.
Brand identity and collateral design, the bronze winner under posters and billboards.
After all was said, the moment that all had been waiting for came.
Color missile scanner JWT.
WPP Scan Group was a big winner of the night, with some of his agencies carrying home major awards.
Sports surgery, boxing, rugby, Scanner JWT.
Scanner JWT won the bronze award in the communication design, brand identity and collateral design category for a campaign dubbed Weapons of Mass Destruction they carried out for Nation.
Twaweza, Twitter, Emoji, Squad Digital.
Squad Digital, an integrated digital marketing agency under WPP Scan Group, carried home both the gold and silver awards in the communication design for digital category for Twaweza Twitter Emoji and This Is My Kenya campaigns, both carried out for Safaricom.
And the agency of the year for the APA Awards 2018 is Isobar Kenya.
The overall winner of the night was Isobar based on cumulative points, followed by Ogilvy and Mother Africa, another of WPP Scan Group's brand. We send our congratulations to all the winners, as we are appreciative of the fact that a win for them is a win for all the brands. For Brand Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
Station 77.
It's the award seasons and they keep coming. Here's another. Kenya Institute of Management held Company of the Year Awards 2018 Gala Night, an event which is a culmination of the process that seeks to see companies improve their management practices. This year, the event was themed Driving Business Excellence Through Value-Based Leadership. Our reporter Karari John tells us more.
Kindly let's give a round of applause for our chief guest.
The keynote speaker and representing the PA's State Department of Trade, Dr. Chris Kipto, was Joyce Obudo, Secretary Department of Trade, who began by challenging companies to create avenues to address the high rate of unemployment and poverty in the country.
We all know that the two most big challenges we face in Kenya today is the high rate of unemployment, especially among the youth and women, and the high levels of poverty. So if we create wealth, if we establish ventures which are innovative, being managed by servant leaders and people with creative minds who are involved in research and development, then we will contribute to the reduction of unemployment and high poverty levels in this country.
She went ahead to highlight the government's commitment in enhancing trade.
The government, on its part, has continuously engaged in improving business environment for trade and investment to thrive in this country. Some of the programs, allow me, Chairman, to share with you some of the programs which the government of Kenya has put in place to facilitate trade development and promotion. And this include small and medium enterprise integration into global value chain, negotiations of market access, both in the domestic market, regional and international markets.
Kenya Institute of Management, KIM, Board Chairperson Dr. Tom Musili pointed out to the company owners the need to manage waste in order to conserve the environment.
This country, I saw there is a company here dealing with pollution. And this country is a bit contaminated. Our waters, our soil, and we have to take it upon ourselves to save lives and our environment. And this is due to dumping of industrial chemicals, electronic waste that contain heavy metals, and that is what is killing us. for the last 5 years, cancer and internal organ problems have increased by 5 times. So I don't know in 10 years where we will be.
After the winners have been announced.
KIM Executive Director Morethi Ndegwa, on his part, expounded on what KIM does.
KIM is a professional membership-based body, and our core responsibility is to develop a cadre of persons and organizations that can offer solutions to emerging global challenges. Since 1954, this is something we have religiously done, and KIM has over the years invested heavily, therefore, in research, knowledge sharing, and feedback as we seek to steer organizations to excellence. Right now, as we speak, we have 19 branches countrywide, and for the last 60 years or so, our experience in the knowledge industry, I dare say, is not unrivaled. Or I dare say it is unrivaled.
Very warm.
On the success of the Organizational Performance Index, he had these to say.
KIM has successfully helped organizations drive global competitiveness through the business excellence model that we instituted a couple of years ago called OPI, Organizational Performance Index. And as I said, we are also looking at how we can improve this tool so that we are more relevant to the market dynamics of today, and also we are much more compliant with the requirements by companies where some of them require a simplified tool. We are therefore delighted in the fact that OPI has grown beyond recognition and award program to become a business excellence model which seeks to improve the business output or the quality output of organizations in this country.
And the winner in overall COIA 2018 is, ladies and gentlemen, Mabati Rolling Mills.
The colorful event saw Mabati Rolling Mills walk away as Company of the Year Award 2018 overall winner, while first runners-up went to CPA Financial Services. On the other hand, SME of the Year Award 2018 was scooped by Signature Healthcare Limited, and with Polycon Services Limited coming in as the first runners-up.
We are a chosen generation.
Initiatives like COIA go a long way in steering and championing excellence, integrity, and competitiveness in individuals and organizations throughout Africa and beyond, and with it, economic development. Reporting for Brand Plus TV, I am Korari John Wambugu.
It is ISO 9001 to...
Let us now take a look at how the markets performed today. Here is a summary. That is just a summary of how the markets performed, but for more in-depth analysis of the same, tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for my next big bet with Rachel Nderitu and Karanja Daniel. Let's now take a look at the day's weather report. That was it from the Business News Desk tonight. On behalf of everyone that made it a success, thank you very much for watching. Catch us again tomorrow at 9 p.m. for a fresh serving of news-making headlines in the business world. Until then, I am Ndiro Ganga and I'm in business. Case closed.